back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carey, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, we are back. It is the unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com. The entire gang is here. And we've got facilities going on out here. Eddie got to see me build a wall yesterday, a wall of soundproof tiles, panels, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, I think they're panels.
Got the laser level out.
There's a lot of math being done.
There was a lot of math. So I feel like I'm getting to like a big milestone, Josh. I think I'm going to be able to start taking some of my tools home soon because I've learned two things. We've done most of the stuff, and then I learned how to hire things out, so I don't need my tools here. And Eddie will attest to this. Things get done much faster when I hire things out.
I'm like the high school girl in every movie. My heart's been broken too many times, and I'm just not going to allow myself to get my hopes too high. Like, I'm just not going to dream. When you tell me it's done, it's done.
Just a high school kid, maybe.
Yeah.
The hired help was it was kind of unbelievable watching them work.
Oh my God,
they went to town.
Like they get shit done really fast.
Yeah, it was very
like was
very
that wall even there, Bob, when you were here last week? Was this wall here when you were there?
I don't think so. No, they put everything up in one day. I mean, it was unbelievable.
So
very good work.
Things are coming along in the offices. We've got to get some flooring down in the podcast room, and then we'll be cranked. We'll be back to our old stomping grounds here pretty soon. But yesterday, before we get into everything going down in the Sooner world, we have to talk about the day of days yesterday. It was, I think I saw, we turned on Mike Morgan at like 5 o'clock. You were here waiting to go over to Lloyd Noble for the game. And he said that I heard the words 84-mile-an-hour winds out of his mouth. And I don't, it's one of those things like, I don't think he was overselling it.
No, it was even by Oklahoma standards, it was absolutely brutal wind yesterday.
And I think I probably told you while I was sitting in here, like, I need to get home and check on my fence.
Yeah,
I was
you did.
About it.
You did say something about that.
So then I got home about 7 o'clock, so it was a little dark still. And as soon as I walk around the corner, I just see it. And I'm like, yep, that's kind of what I expected.
Man, that sucks.
It's just more money you got to spend on stupid shit you don't want to spend money on. But that wasn't the worst of it. Basically, our whole afternoon became an adventure because as I was running over to Ace Hardware to get more things to put the panels up with, I get a phone call from Eddie. And as I walked out to my car, hey, dude. As I walked, which I knew. See, I had a thought like we should lock our doors because I think something's. I don't. No, he's like, well, they're out there doing something at the. Hold on,
you can come in here. Okay. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I was just telling you that I was going to turn the water off for a little bit.
Okay,
you're good.
Over here on the hot water tank.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks.
I wonder what.
Okay.
All right, we figured out what these guys are here for.
So.
Oh no, that needs to be included. That's got to be part of it.
They're turning our water off. They just wanted us to know.
No problem.
And that man looks like someone you don't want to mess with. So I'm just going to let him do what he wants.
Yeah, he can get away with it.
So I'm going out to my car to run to Ace Hardware, and I noticed like the parking enforcement here was here like all day. That was a fantastic video, by the way.
Thank you. It's a double standard is what it is.
Parking enforcement doesn't have to pay for parking. That's bullshit.
We should have held them citizens arrest.
Should have like just printed up a fake ticket.
I thought
and put
about
it on
putting
the window.
a fake ticket out there.
You should have put the boot on it.
Yeah, I know. It would have been amazing.
We should do that. We should just start getting fake boots and putting it on people. Like when they come back to their car, they'll just freak out and realize it's just a fake boot. But no, so I know your car's not parked out front, and I'm walking by, and you're sitting here in the conference room. And I'm going to my car, and I'm like, where did Eddie park today? His car's not in our spot. And so I get to Ace Hardware, and I'm trying to find the metals, the screws to go into metal, and what kind of stuff I need to get. I get a call from Eddie, and he's like, I think someone stole my car. I'm like, I didn't see your car. I was wondering where your car was. This makes sense that someone might have stole it.
It was an all-time, like, dude, where's my car moment, because I went out there to grab something, and it was just gone. Like my car was completely gone.
Your brand new car.
This is
and
literally after I just made the first.
Yeah, this is the irony.
payment.
Is we're sitting here and Eddie's like getting out bills and like I'm trying to figure out like what's he doing over there, and he was setting up his account so he could make his first payment on his brand new car, and he literally said, "I just made my first payment on my car," and you were freaked out by it a little bit.
Well, it just sucked. I mean, my God.
And then someone steals your car like 5 minutes later, and so it did dawn on me like, oh wait, the guy that's over across the way, he kind of has a weird vibe about him. Like, he doesn't really talk to us when we see each other, and he might be a little bit of a dick. And he might have had your car towed because I said, where did you park your car? And I knew we have 2 stalls that we pay for, and he has the stall next to ours. And you accidentally parked in his stall because I parked one over from where I normally parked.
Because somebody was in your spot where you... So it was like a domino effect, basically.
So he ends up... I ended up going over there. Well, I'll let you go. I'll let you tell the story from there.
Well, it just so happened that, yeah, sure enough, he had my car towed, and we had to go over to the tow lot in Norman. And I'm sure that anybody that
the good guys at L&M, who I yelled at on the phone, by the way,
anybody that has had their car towed in Norman knows where it's at. It's over off Lindsay Street, behind Del Rancho. It's a big to do, and you have to go over there and go in and do the paperwork and all that kind of stuff. So, like, I guess at the end of the day, it was a pretty painless process of having to get my car out.
It just wasted our afternoon.
But and just the sheer surprise of walking out there and being like I really had to like think twice for a minute. Like, did I park there? Like, am I just completely losing my mind right now?
Do I still have the keys?
Like, right. Yeah. And then I got out like the app and I'm checking the app and it's like, it shows that it's still parked there.
Right.
Which is kind of scary that you can just have a car towed and then not like really truly know where it's at.
Well, that's the thing. I was talking to the maintenance guys who saw your car getting towed yesterday.
Yeah, so did the people upstairs at the Sooner Club. No thanks to them. They didn't know that it was my car. Thankfully, they are aware.
It is a brand new car.
They'll be keeping an eye on it for me up there.
Yeah, I have pretty good confidence if they knew that was your car, they would have said something.
I would have got a phone call at least.
Yeah, they're towing your car or a text. So, like, here's what happens. Like, you call me, and then I realize, it could be towed. And so I'm in Ace, and I tell you, like, let me just get this.
That was my immediate thought, though, because I didn't think that, like,
somebody stole
it in broad daylight off the campus corner.
So I was like, let me finish up here, and then I'll call the police department and find out if you can find out if something's been towed. And it turns into like everything else. I'm sitting in the middle of Ace Hardware, and I can't help it. I just have to call the police department. And they're like, yeah, we can tell you if something's been towed. We can tell you if a car's been towed and what wrecker it's at, but we can't tell you who called in to tow it. Like, we can't. Or they didn't tell me that. When I called the wrecker, I was like, then I was even more incensed, and I was being a little bit of a dick, which I hated because when we got there, they knew who we were. And they're like, and the guy goes, I thought that was you on the phone.
I recognize your voice.
I was like, the guy out there screaming at you just a second ago.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm yelling, and I'm pissed off, and because I know how much it costs to get a car out of the lot. Like, I knew it was at least $200, and so I'm asking him all these questions, like, how can this happen? Like, how can someone just, like, you couldn't call someone and say, that's my kid, bring them back home, they stole them from me. Like, but basically, if anything happens on private property, Norman police won't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, when I got hit in Chick-fil-A, they wouldn't even do a police report because it was on private property.
Really?
Yeah.
Did not know that. That's interesting.
You going to use that to your advantage?
No, well, I'm not. No, definitely not. We're going to try to keep as few dents out of the Lexus as possible.
So anyway, I called the wrecker, and I didn't threaten him. I was on the verge of doing it. Like, I'm filing a police report against you, pal. Like that. I was keeping that one in the chamber.
Yeah, no, I mean,
and then when I got there,
what they have to do.
When I got there, and he knew who I was, I was really glad I wasn't that big of a dick.
He's a big boy too.
He was a big guy.
And
they were super nice.
They were awesome.
And I told him that guy that towed the car, his name will forever be Toby now.
Yeah.
And they like that.
Yeah, he's
and I'll tell you, the guy that towed it did. I went over there.
Apologized many times.
I went over there and reamed him out, and just said, how could you not leave a note on the car at least before you tow it? He says he came back this morning over here, apologized again, offered, told us what times we could park in his spot moving forward. He knows our cars. Like, he was very apologetic.
Yeah. It was a misunderstanding.
I still want to put a boat anchor.
I was trying to figure out how you guys
space.
weren't irate at that person.
Oh, we were. We were.
I don't know about Bob. This is the first I'd heard about any of this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're not livid at the guy who called them in? Like, what the hell? And now I'm like, okay, that makes more sense. I wonder if there's people listening that were like, Eddie's not furious?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it was my fault. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
But it's
Eddie did park in his space, but it's just the common courtesy of it all is just what I have a problem
and everybody knows, I think, like, kind of what cars are back there. I think by now it's like everybody kind of knows who drives what. And if you would have just, like, come over and been like, hey, you're in my spot, can you move? I'd be like, yeah, oh, that's my bad. Sure.
And the car that was parked in our spot, I just put a note on their car saying, look, we're not trying to tow people here, but we need this spot. We pay for this spot. Yeah. Like, please don't park here anymore, because we don't want to get to a point where we're getting people towed.
I will say, though, like, having come down here, almost every day now and working out of the office and that kind of stuff, it does take me back to the days when I was a student down here and I just park wherever and be like, oh, nobody's ever going to tow anything.
Outside of these offices, like, if we didn't have this office, I would park back there all the time, not give a shit. Sure. Be like, oh, reserve right on this faded old sign that you can barely even read anymore.
Does anybody even check these?
Yeah.
Type of thing. So, yeah, it is what it is. Live and learn, and we're all good. I'm going to burn his business down, but we're all good.
Just go poop in his products.
I was looking for. Yeah. Now that feels like Eddie.
I'm gonna smash a couple windows, but other than that, it's not that big of a deal.
Here's what you do. Well, there's two things that we could do. One, we're calling him Toby forever, and I told him that this morning, and he thought that was funny too. But we could put a boat anchor in his spot. Good luck getting that out.
I thought about, on the way down here, putting the gates and stuff that we have to park up against. We should just move them right into 13.
Just put them in 13.
It'd be such a dick move.
Or maybe like those things that those atlases that the world's strongest men have to lift.
Oh, yeah.
Those big circles. Good luck getting those out.
Yeah.
So he'd just roll them over into our spot, probably.
And then it'd dent my car, and then
is the world ending? Because we had a beehive in our dumpster. I couldn't even take stuff to the trash.
Thousands of bees.
I mean, just
more bees than I've ever seen.
Random 1,000 bees in the dumpster. My fence gets knocked over. I mean, winds. We may be in the signs of the apocalypse.
Oh.
Porter Moser won last night.
Yeah,
easily.
It is the apocalypse. We are now officially in the apocalypse.
All right, let's get to the show, the meat of the show. It's time for the Enjoy Fresh Perspective look ahead. As tomorrow, big news, we're going to be meeting with Brent Venables and every single newcomer to the program. So we essentially have a pre-spring media day, which I can never remember happening before. We get to talk to everybody. We get to talk to Jackson Arnold. We get to talk to PJ Adebare.
25 guys.
I mean, all the newcomers,
it's crazy.
The transfers, all that stuff. Nothing like this has ever happened.
No,
not even close.
Very much appreciated, too.
Oh, it's awesome. So thank you, Brent Venables. Thanks, Mike Houck, for getting this set up. We'll talk more about that. One thing we didn't get to talk about last week, Sooners and Longhorns moving to the SEC in 2024. The combine invites for OU players that came out last week, I think the day of the pod, but we never really talked about it. We'll talk about who's in and who was invited. Baseball gets started this week. Softball already a weekend under their belt. We'll talk to Bob about that. And as I said, Porter Moser is on a win streak after last night. Just one game, but it's still a win streak. Also in recruiting, Williams Maneri, a top 10 kid in the country, or what Josh thinks should be a top 10 kid in the country, is talking about setting up a visit this weekend. Not this weekend, but coming up in the next month, right, Josh?
Yeah.
Okay.
He should be on campus fairly soon.
Okay, so Josh is also going to be heading to his first camp this week. And want to remind you guys, the Enjoy Fresh Perspective brought to you by Mr. Edward Radosevich, who is not only a friend but a client of Enjoy Vision.
Absolutely. Enjoy Vision, the best laser vision center in Oklahoma City. Not even close. Combination of mind-blowing technology, experienced eyeball surgeons, and exceptional patient care and a life-changing procedure that, Carey, I got a couple months ago.
And a free Valium.
Yeah. Well, and that's, one of the added bonuses of it. But it was the easiest process. Go in, you get a couple visits before the surgery, and I was in there for like 3.5 hours, and then all of a sudden I woke up the next day and had perfect vision. So, I got it right before we went up to the PGA Championship, and it truly was like one of those things that I was pretty scared to do. I think anybody that thinks about lasers and their eyeballs and vision and things like that.
Are you going to blink in the middle of it?
Yeah, there's just so many different.
Never close your eyes and go to sleep.
I think that I just go back to what if something happens? Like, what if it's me that is the 99%, chance of everything going well? What about that 1% that it happens to me and I'm never able to see again? But I was able to see exceptionally better after the Enjoy experience. So go to enjoywithme.com, promo code U40, NJOY with me.com, promo code U40, Enjoy Vision. This is where you LASIK.
And that gets you what, like money off?
$400 off.
Okay.
$400 off.
Nice.
So it's
that code U40.
And I think that just in terms of putting a price on it, I don't think that you can. I mean, waking up and never having to F with contacts or contact solution, or have to walk into a Walgreens at 10:30 at night because you forgot to go get it earlier.
We've been on road trips where you forgot your stuff and had to go get it. Yeah.
It truly was life-changing. So I can't say enough good things about the people of Enjoy.
All right, now it's time for the Enjoy Fresh Perspective look back, because we got plenty to talk about from last week, including once again we gave up on OU basketball, only to have them go out and dominate late last night, 8 o'clock start, where it looked to me, Bob, like Porter has just really finally figured out we've got to get as many athletes on the floor as we can in this league.
Yeah, and I think they caught Kansas State at a perfect time. The Wildcats are struggling right now.
But are they 4 of the last 5 or 3 of the last 4 that they lost?
It is not pretty. They
hit a wall for sure.
They've hit a wall, and now they know what Jerome Tang is looking to try to do, and teams are being able to scout, and it's still a really good win. But it's a nice time to get it because it's when they're really struggling. And yeah, it was just a simple case. It's like Porter joked, what a novel concept to have Grant Sherfield, Jalen Hill, and Tanner Groves all play well at the same time. The only other time that's really happened this year was against Bama. And so now we'll just see if they can bounce back better compared to what they did against the Tide. And they've still got plenty of chances to try to build a resume, which sounds goofy at 13-13, but when you have those type of games, you can still work your way back into the tournament. And I think we're starting to get a better feel, like you said, with Otega Owe, Joe Bamisile. They're going to get their run. And you don't know who it's going to be. Like last night, it was Otega and Bijan Cortez. They came up big in the second half. It doesn't have to be the same guy every night. You need your big three to come through. But in terms of those role players, just 1 or 2 every single game, that's going to be enough to really help this team.
Do we know where Josh Giddey had the after party? Tridell House?
I don't know. He kind of got out of there quickly. I will say, like, I talked about this morning. It's like, that guy loves basketball, obviously.
Yeah. Yep.
And he can't go out to bars, and I wouldn't expect him to go out to a bar on a Tuesday night. But he is always at a basketball game, whether if he's playing or he's going to watch his sister play, or, he's down in Norman a lot.
I think we have to ask the women of Oklahoma, why aren't your men good enough for you? I mean, we had some unconfirmed reports that Quinn Ewers was here last week for
I've confirmed that.
A date night.
I've confirmed that with a photograph evidence.
Ooh.
So the quarterback of Texas is coming in. Josh Giddey's coming in. Why aren't your own men good enough for you, women of Oklahoma?
I think because the women of Oklahoma are just elite. How about that?
There's so many elite running around.
Why aren't the men stepping up?
That's true. There you go.
Wow, your manhood challenged people.
No, I think that Quinn Ewers is dating a Kaio at OU.
That's what I was told, is it was a Kaio date party that he came for. And the reason he cut his mullet off.
Cut his mullet off
for a girl at OU. What's going on, Texas? What's going on with the Texas women? Maybe that's the question we should be asking.
Turn it all around.
All right. So anyway, just move. I thought this last night watching the game. You can't have the Groves brothers on the floor at the same time.
Correct.
But you can play Tanner with other athletes on the floor, and it looks good.
Yeah, there's 2 things. I don't think you can do the Groves together and you really have to try to limit Ortega and Bam on at the same time because they make the same type of mistakes. With the Groves, they're way too slow, so your team looks slow. With Ortega,
they were still giving up a lot of easy trips to the basket last night, blow-bys left and right.
And when you have Ortega and Bam, they turn the ball over a lot. I mean, they do a lot of freakish things with their athletic ability, with the block shots and things like that, but they make a lot of errors. So I think it's been a work in progress that Porter has learned in the last couple weeks about how this rotation is going to look like. I think it's going to be an 8-man group. I think CJ Nolan's now on the outside looking in, and obviously there was a tweet from his mother that got deleted last night where you can tell they're not very happy with the way that things have transpired there. But I don't know if it's going to matter when you go to Austin to play Texas Saturday regardless. But yeah, they have to try to build off what happened last night and just if Grant Sherfield can show up like that, because a lot of people they're not wrong. His body language, I feel that trickles down to the rest of the team, and it's been awful in some of those other games. When he's getting into the paint and getting rebounds, he's showing you he's present. He's there. He wants to win, and I think that carried over last night.
Probably the most complete game that he's had. I know Porter Moser was extremely complimentary of the 22-8-6 effort. I mean, he had more assists last night than Oklahoma had as a team on Saturday against Kansas.
All-time clunker. I mean,
it was 24-6 turnover to assist ratio. That's flat out awful.
1-5. That's not gonna.
I don't think that nothing is fixed.
No.
Within the program, they're at the end of the day, they're still 3-10, but. I do think that, it's been some do we want to get into the Moser stuff or we want to wait until later on that?
No, go ahead.
Just as far as the stuff that you asked him, Bob, on Monday, just as far as what his longevity is in Norman. Is he all in basically? Or is there anything to the Notre Dame rumors? And, I think that it's very much a wait and see, but I do think that I walked away from there feeling, I guess, more confident about just kind of the overall product of the program. And, oh, by the way, you get into the Notre Dame stuff and them losing Andy Ludwig, the buyout situation in South Bend. It just doesn't seem like that's going to be coming to fruition unless there's some give or take from Oklahoma or Notre Dame or whoever.
Right. If they're not going to make concessions for Notre Dame football, they're definitely not going to do that to bend over backwards to try to make a basketball hire happen. But I appreciate Moser addressing the issue. I kind of gave a halfway out. I talked about losing the fan base. Are you at all worried about that? And he was like, all right, I'm ready to talk about it. It's almost like he wanted someone to ask just so he could talk about how much he loves OU, loves the program, loves what he's trying to get built there. And I know there's a lot of fans still burnt by Lincoln Riley, and that's all they heard. So, all right, there's another Lincoln thing. But it felt a little different from where I was sitting. I felt like it was pure and genuine, and he just has to do a better job in the portal, because he, even in that defense or, his passion response, he brought up the portal and name, image, likeness, and no one cares because every coach is going through it. Jerome Tang went through it even worse than you and put out a product that was better right from the jump. So you just have to be able to embrace it. I know OU's NIL, whatever it was at this point last year, was rough in terms of having an organization and structure, which we've talked about repeatedly, and it was hard for Moser and the staff to really be able to sell it. You hope that has turned around, and he's just got to be more aggressive. You can't look as a crutch. You have to attack it, and you've got to get the right guys that are going to fit your system.
The other thing that I saw you and Eli both comment on this last night on Twitter, Eddie. The quad one wins of Oklahoma
insane.
Compared to Duke, North Carolina. Who was the third?
Kentucky.
Yeah.
Kentucky. The OU, they have 4 quad one wins now.
Yes.
Duke has 3. Kentucky has 1. North Carolina, famously has 0.
0-9 in quad one games.
It's insane.
Carolina.
Now, it helps that you're playing in the conference that you do, but to think that, if OU can scratch off a couple more wins, with the 5 games that they have left in the regular season, they could get to 5.
There's some ridiculous. If Florida gets hot, a top 50 neutral site game.
Sure.
and Florida's like 53.
Now they're not. Don't get us wrong. OU's not getting in the NCAA tournament unless they win the Big 12 tournament, or unless they somehow ran the table, finished 8-10, and maybe got to the Big 12 championship tournament.
Man,
game.
they would be in if that
you
was.
Think?
I don't. 6-12. I start wondering.
Like, could they bubble in?
Yes, because of what ends up being the.
Don't give me hope.
That's
the last thing I want is
what
hope.
did this do? What did that win do on Ken Palm?
They went up. Well, I don't know from Ken Palm, but from net they went from 76 to 65. And if you can beat you've got to win one of the 3 road games with Texas, Iowa State, or Kansas State. Well, you have to beat TCU and Tech at home,
right?
But you have to show you can win a marquee game on the road too.
Which, I'd be hard.
Leaves a lot to be desired.
Gun to my head, I think they win one more game, and it's probably the Tech game. I don't know about TCU. Well, I think that'll be much of a flip if Mikey Miles and
he'll be. I mean,
back.
that's the final game. Those guys are going to be healthy.
Sure.
You didn't get the break of trying to play that team without Miles, but yeah, they're going to have to run the table at home, and they're going to have to show that they can beat a legitimate elite team on the road at least once.
Still very much a long shot. As of this morning.
Yep. But
as Josh said, high school girlfriend just hasn't got over it yet. Just don't break my heart again.
Better position today than yesterday.
Don't give me hope.
We'll see. I mean, there is.
Don't do this to yourselves. Don't do this to yourselves. I hear all of this.
I do love.
Crazy.
I do love Los, and I do love Otegua. Like, if you want to start talking about what they could be in a year from now, they're going to obviously have to be better. But
they don't lose them to the transfer portal,
right? Like, that's kind of the biggest question.
I wouldn't think they would lose the freshmen to the
transfer
portal.
It feels like they're in a pretty good spot with some of those
yeah.
guys.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have to go out and get guys. I mean, you have to build a better roster than they have right now. It just, at the end of the day,
you got to get more athletic.
Nobody's
going to
give a damn. Yeah, like nobody's going to give a damn if Porter Moser's a great guy. It's going to be about wins and losses.
Which we saw with the crowd.
That was bad. That was really bad.
Yeah, I can't blame the crowd, though.
No, I can't either. I mean,
there's no reason to go to that game leading into it last night.
No, it is what it is. I mean,
And it was a little sad watching Porter try and go over and give appreciation to the students when even the student section was pretty.
Yeah, I mean, he knows.
Pretty sparse.
He knows. Win games, people will show up.
All right, there you go. You get a win. You get some basketball talk. But you know what? We want to see more before we talk more extended. I know Josh appreciates that. We did mention a big media day coming up tomorrow with the football program. Huge. I mean, massive. I can't say how cool this is of Brent Venables to do this for us. We're going to talk to him. He'll have his own press conference that'll last for 40 minutes, I think, or 30 minutes.
Opening statement's going to be interesting. Get into the questions.
Eddie and I sat in here and listened to him do like an Instagram live with somebody from Score.
Jordan Schultz,
yeah. It was nothing really new, but it was just kind of interesting to hear him talk. And we'll get more dialed in, I think, on the current players.
It was your generic spring head football coach interview in terms of, so you signed Jackson Arnold. What do you think about him?
Hey,
he's a 5-star.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to remind you guys, good friends over at PrimeShrimp.com are making it easy for you to have a restaurant-quality meal. That's right. Shrimp made easy, premium shrimp, gourmet ingredients, cook-in bag convenience. All you have to do is go to PrimeShrimp.com, click on that Shop Now button, and you can make your selection from New Orleans-style barbecue, garlic or butter, their signature Cajun seasoned shrimp, lemon and cracked pepper, and many, many more. French Quarter Alfredo, my personal favorite. So go check them out. Great sponsors of the pod. They now have single servings, also a sampler 12-pack. And you know what you can do? You can use your promo code SoonerScoop and get 25% off any order of 5 packs or more. But get that sampler pack to load up if you already know the goodness of prime shrimp. So really easy. Just put it in boiling water, less than 10 minutes. You've got that restaurant quality meal right there to consume right at home. So primeshrimp.com, go check them out. Use that promo code SoonerScoop. Get 25% off your first order of 5 packs or more. But no, and then we'll have 3 player groups. And I think they've kind of they've made this to kind of where it's the transfers versus the
no,
newcomers
it's just based on the workout and
the
class
workout
schedule.
times. I see.
Yeah,
it just happens that the first group is the biggest.
it's 17.
But like Trace Ford, we'll be able to talk to him. That should be really interesting. But even Josh, say the last name for me so his mom doesn't get mad at me. Phil
Picciotti?
Yeah.
Picciotti.
Yeah.
I'm the one that screwed it up. But like Walter Rouse, it'll be interesting to talk to him. There's just so many guys and so many storylines coming up that are going to be coming out of this. It's just going to be a really cool day. And I know, Jackson Arnold will get all the attention and probably be surrounded the entire time. But just to get a chance to do something like this, and we'll be there from 1:45 to like 5 o'clock. So
it's
a
an
full
all
day.
afternoon affair.
Guys, it got me thinking, and I want to agree completely with you guys. I can't even state how cool this is that this is going to be open in that way. And I know media, we kind of get a reputation sometimes of bitching about stuff that fans don't care about, but that's a cool move by Brent Venables and the whole athletic department to make that available. But it makes me wonder, with so many of these guys showing up, and obviously like Jackson Arnold, Peyton Bowen, Bob, Eddie, you've seen those guys a little bit. Is there someone this spring, I know we can kind of get down that road, but amongst those guys, is there someone you guys are excited to see? Because, I know for me, I saw a lot of these guys, but for you guys, is there someone, whether it's because they could have a role or just you like what you've heard or seen or whatever? I just kind of wondered if there was somebody kind of looking down that road a little bit farther, if there was just someone you guys are particularly interested in.
I think for me, it's probably either Picciotti, just because I feel like he was like the
Picciotti.
Yeah. No, it's Picciotti.
No, it's Picciotti. And I will say, his mother is listening. Eddie does this out of love. He still can't say.
It means that he's going to be a major contributor because
Siebert.
I feel like he's one of those guys that he just, I don't know. I feel like more people should be excited about him. And then
about
when he got it, Phil
who?
Picciotti.
There you go.
Either him or, I'm telling you, Josh, the stuff that you sent back with Makari Vickers, just from San Antonio and kind of getting to know him, he seems like a guy that from day one, I don't know if he could be a step in and really, truly contribute. But, I think outside of somebody like a Peyton Bowen, who everybody expects to come in and really, really contribute from day one, maybe he could add some depth at the cornerback position that, they need as much or as many bodies as possible to be able to come in and kind of help out.
Vickers feels like that guy that, I don't think he's going to take anybody's job this year, but almost that conversation where you go into 2024 and say, okay, Woody Washington left and maybe Jaden Davis is your opposite starter. OU's having to rebuild the cornerback, the starting lineup. But Vickers is a guy you'd almost say, maybe you're better. Maybe you're better at that position after he gets a little seasoning and kind of can figure it out a little bit. He is, like I said, I knew I liked him, but seeing him in person was a very different thing. He is very, very good.
I got to go PJ at Adibare. I just, because they brought in so many defensive ends from the portal. And so where does he stack up with those guys compared to Reggie Grimes and Ethan Downs, who are already on campus? Is it too much too soon to think, boom, he's going to be in the legit rotation as a true freshman after all those guys that they brought in? Can he already eclipse what those guys have produced in the last 3 or 4 years?
To me, it's more just transfers overall because I think we're still waiting to see that big hit in the transfer portal where a guy goes, you look at a guy like Reggie Pearson. OU fans know him from knocking the shit out of Dylan Gabriel at the end of the Tech game. But, you talk to Tech fans, and they know his warts. They know what he doesn't do well. So, is that going to make him better being at OU? Is OU going to, at what point are we going to see, OU kind of figure out the type of guy they need? Austin Stogner. He didn't set the world on fire at South Carolina. Or South Carolina. That sounded weird. Yep. It still sounds weird that I'm not talking about him as an OU player. But, and he was here, and we were all like, yeah, he's got a lot of potential, but he's a little stiff, and but he was a good target, and Dylan Gabriel hasn't really had that big target. He's had Braden Willis, more of an athletic guy. Is he going to be able to utilize that? Because we all know that he hasn't done a great job over the middle, outside of some Drake Stoops throws here and there. So it's just, in Trace Ford, I mean, like, he's had such a difficult career with the injuries and everything, and we think he's a really good player. Is he going to break out as a transfer? We haven't seen a transfer. I guess, you could say that CJ was kind of that guy a little bit because he led the team in interceptions, but I'm just like
Eric Gray, would that
definitely
be considered?
But he was really good at Tennessee. But
sure,
but no, I would say last year he wasn't, but he was this year.
You're looking for like a Juice Wells, where someone steps up from James Madison to South Carolina and ends up being the hit that you absolutely thought you were about to get, and that's like maybe a Rondell Bothroyd.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Or even like a Deshaun McCullough, is that the guy?
Yeah.
So
sure.
That's my guy. That's who I cannot wait to see what they do with him.
But again, like, we can talk to those guys all we want tomorrow. It's really about the field. It's about practice, about games. Like, that's when we know if this is really going to hit or not. And you mentioned Eric Gray, and yeah, he definitely is one of those guys. To me, he's as big a success story in the transfer portal as there's been outside of, I'm trying to think, who is you could go to like Russell Wilson if you want to, but that's not really transfer portal. That's just a grad transfer. But even including Russell Wilson, there's still only a handful of guys that have really just become like, NFL, raise their stock in the NFL from transferring.
I think the catnip story of the day, like the most aggregated clickbait thing, will be just how well all of these guys speak. I think that they're going to be like, just in terms of like, and it's something that Brent talked about on that Instagram Live thing yesterday was, I think he said like 75% of the guys that they're bringing in were all captains from their former, whether it be high school and or college. And, again, does that mean that it's going to dig you out of 6 and 7 hole? Probably not, but I don't think it's a bad thing.
Can we request that there not be the well-spoken, like stop saying, like, at least throw articulate out there, like, at least vary it or something. Like, I don't understand why people are always so like surprised that these high school educated kids can like speak in complete sentences. I'm like, these are smart kids. Like, most of them are smarter smarter than I am anyway.
It's a lot like the people that are like, when they start talking about NIL, well, what about taxes? These kids, they got to pay taxes. Just shut up with that. Like, yes, they're going to know about taxes.
DMX didn't pay taxes. Look at him.
He's dead. Oh, you forget DMX died.
Holy crap! I had forgotten. Like, that didn't even cross my mind in the middle of that conversation.
I think about it every day.
Here's what I want out of tomorrow. I want an interview to go so off the rails that the coaches say you're not talking to the media for the rest of the year.
Somebody just like starts running their mouth about QAnon or something?
Yes. Whatever. Just craziness.
That'd
just
be
give
awesome.
me madness.
Yeah, I'd be a fan of that for sure.
You think there'll be a lot of UFO questions tomorrow?
I don't know.
Well,
Maybe.
Rondell Bothroyd, he was in North Carolina. Like, you got to ask him. Does he know someone who saw the balloon?
Well, that was in Myrtle Beach. That was South Carolina.
That's Stogner. We got to ask about that.
Yeah, you can tell how closely I watch the news. I knew it was on the East Coast somewhere, and they're all the same to me.
I'm sure that they're not covering that on OAN, your choice of television anyway.
I know more people that are concerned with the conspiracies about trains right now,
right?
Than UFOs.
That's right.
I don't know anything about that. God, I don't.
Ohio train, Ohio-Pennsylvania border. Check it out.
Guys, there are Rivals 250 updates going on. We had a site crash. My brain melted yesterday. Valentine's Day.
Yeah, let me just put this out there. The official statement from Sooner Scoop. Like, we had no control over that. We do kind of question because it's always the same problem. It's like, a server outside of our control is having an outage error. and we're waiting for them to fix it until we can get Rivals back up. And like we hear that every time, but it literally is nothing that we can control. And I know a lot of people were pissed and thinking they'd been sent to Chile, or some just like I had people contacting me through the SoonerScoopStore.com contact form saying I blocked on Rivals. Like, and I get it. Like it's you're panicking. It freaks you out, and we are sorry about it. We hate that stuff like that happens. We wish we could control it more, but it's part of technology, I guess. I don't know. I've never lived on another network. I don't know if that's common. Like, does like On3 or 24/7 have that same thing happen to them? I don't know. It's a good question that I don't know the answer to. I'm sure you can DM.
Just throw that one out into space.
Yeah, just throw it and stomp on it and forget I ever said it. Okay, so I mentioned back in the Enjoy Fresh Perspective, Josh, Williams Maneri, a top 10 kid in the country. You think should be a top 10 kid in the country, but March visits starting to become a thing. Of course, when schools are now practicing, we have still not gotten a start date for spring football yet. Or a schedule, but
I bet we get that tomorrow.
Spring break is 11th through the 19th, so
you would assume the 20th, 21st,
yeah, something around there. But Josh, it's starting to kind of be, and I know I saw the map yesterday with all the targets for OU on it that
Sandlin's
put out there, but it's starting to heat up with visitors, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're sitting in a dead period right now, so there's not a lot of activity. There's not a lot that can be done as far as getting out or having guys on campus. But speaking to a lot of these new offers, they're already working with the coaching staff on setting up visits. For those, as we're recording this, Woke has not gotten up, so I am working on that kind of. I was working on that during our basketball segment, believe it or not. Yeah, wasn't heavily involved in that conversation, but yeah, I mean, guys like people have asked me, who are those elite guys OU is going to be in on, and David Stone is the one everybody runs to, and it's obvious and it's correct, but a guy that I think everybody's starting to figure out is really special is Williams. I think it's Nwaneri, Nwaneri for those that want to try it at home. He is 6'5", 245, camped at OU last summer. And I think Bob and Eddie and I all thought, man, this guy's really good, looked like a top 100 guy. If I'm not mistaken, he was there the same day as Nigel Smith,
yes.
Guys. Is that the way you remember that?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, and I thought, both top 100 guys, no doubt. Well, Williams has now moved into the top 20. Looking around at some of the other networks, he is he's number 3 for 24/7 Sports. He's number 3 for On3. I don't think ESPN has anything out yet. So, Rivals having him at 20. I've always been pretty adamant that Rivals tries to be very deliberate about these things. You don't see a lot of the guys that go from 150 to number 6 in the country. It doesn't happen very often. I think they try to kind of go through the paces, and that's fine. It's just a different methodology. But he is you watch his junior tape, and he is on that level with the PJ Adebawore type, and more physically developed at the same time than PJ. But just a freakish athlete, guy that, you want to get him on campus as often as you can. And, for those that don't follow this stuff closely and don't know, he is the high school teammate of 2023 signee Caden Green. So, you look at what Oklahoma did in Kansas City last year with Caden Green, PJ Adebawore, you go down that list, and they are really making inroads in that area, thanks largely to Brent Venables. That's been a great spot for him traditionally, from Oklahoma to Clemson, all through his career. And they will obviously hope that Williams Nwaneri can be, another guy in that conversation.
How active, I guess, during the spring do you think Oklahoma will be as far as bringing guys in, not just for visits, but, official visits and unofficial? Like, what do we have a good idea of how they're going to handle all that? Because
they start like roughly before the spring game, right? I mean, official visits for 2024 or 2024 kids.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it. I mean, Brent just chose not to do any and bring them all in June. And say for the spring game,
for the barbecue.
For the spring game, you need to show you care and come on your own dime, and then in June you can come back and we'll pay for everything.
All right. Well, yesterday sucked. The wind was terrible. My fence blew down. Eddie's car got towed. The only good thing that happened was I survived because I was wearing Dead Soxies. And deadsoxy.com, go check them out. The boardroom saved my life. I'll just say that. Made my day much easier because when I was running around Ace Hardware and all those places, I was comfortable. And you can be too. Just go to deadsoxy.com. It's a little too cold for the no-shows right now, but it's warming up today. Today'd be a nice day for the no-shows. But dress socks, the team colorways, everything in stock. You get 25% off with your promo code SCOOP. Just go load up your cart. Whatever you get, you'll get 25% off, even sale items. So great deal, great socks, deadsoxy.com, DEADSOXY. Great friends of the pod, and want to go get as many as you can right now. They've even got the team colorway, the Crimson 4-pack, and those are on sale. Plus, you get the extra 25% off with that promo code SCOOP. So thanks to Dead Soxy for always being a big part of the pod, and as always, stay Soxy.
And that is my expectation. That is what I expect to see again with Oklahoma just choosing not to really – I mean, that's not the – because, I mean, guys, and – you know, you can feel however you want to about that, but I think that's just almost obvious because if you're going to have this methodology, which I think we all can understand, they've moved around a little bit on how they stood on some of the things that Brent laid out in his first press conference of how they were going to handle things, but they've been fairly steadfast about if you are committed, no taking trips, and that's fine if you want to wait, that they're going to let you do that, but when you're not high pressure, they don't see any reason to bring you in March on your official and kind of lay it all out and then have to hope they hold on for 9 more months. So I think that's what you're seeing is them just being very cautious and being patient, and it fits better within their method anyway. And I kind of wanted to go back and look at the spring game and some of the people they brought in back then and see what that was going to be like. But, I mean, you look at it, I mean, you've got Jackson Arnold, Josh Bates, trying to find some of the others here. Caden Green was part of that visitor list. Michael Hawkins Jr., a guy that obviously they're very involved with now. Logan Howland. By Job was one that they didn't get. But Derek LeBlanc, I mean, you run the list, they had a good hit rate. Like they did well, kind of like what Bob was saying, getting those guys on campus, letting them, show their interest. They're sincere about OU. And then in return, we're going to bring you back in the summer for your officials, and hopefully then we start closing down on some commitments.
Yeah, and you got to wonder just with the transfer portal and everything else, like, just the way that the calendar has changed since, like, Lincoln was here doing it. Like, maybe even Lincoln would stop doing that or change the way that he, waited on having officials come in. Just having them come in early and then having to hold on to those guys, like. I think the reason this staff has been so successful is that because they do take the time to build that relationship and let it be known, like, commitment means something different to us. So it's not just Lincoln, I thought, was always more like, just get them to commit, then we'll worry if we keep them or not.
And you have to just
100%.
You just have to weigh it because you bring these kids in that early. You get a lot of momentum. You definitely do, but you're not going to keep them all. And if that's when you go to pros and cons, if that's enough for you, then you'll keep doing it the way that they've been going about their business. But I mean, because you think about that Theo Weiss, R.J. Henderson, that 9 commitment weekend, back from the spring game about 4 or 5 years ago.
R.J. Henderson.
It is like 2 of them survived.
Is he even in college anymore?
I have no idea.
I'm not sure he ever really made it to college. RJ is a interesting story for sure.
Yeah, but so I mean, that's the chances you take. You get all those commitments, you got all that momentum, and people are fired up in April and May, and then by October, November, you're just kind of hanging on and hoping that good vibe from that visit in the spring can still carry the day.
One thing that we didn't, I mean, well, let me ask you this. Anything else just really out there recruiting-wise, Josh, that you wanted to get into?
No.
Now,
like
you got your first camps
really,
coming up.
Yeah. I'll be in Dallas for my first camp this weekend. It's the UC report. Really good for underclassmen. They do a great job. Billy Tucker, a guy that works for Under Armour, for the game itself. He's very, involved in the All-American game there in Florida. And, you get guys, Tom Luganbill, Craig Hobart, they're all very involved with it. And they do a good job finding good young players, guys that, some of them I will have seen. Some of them will be new names to me. But, you go back. Again, we talked about Deshaun McCullough earlier. Guys, we were talking before we got started. The first time I went to a UC camp was years ago, that one in Durant in 2020 during the COVID year. And it was, Deshaun McCullough, Day McCullough, you can go down the list. There were a bunch of dudes there that weren't that well known yet, that really emerged. The other kid that really sticks out to me because he wasn't that well known, and I just loved watching him work around, was the DB that was committed to Ohio State last year and then flipped to Texas on signing day. Oh man, really good player out of Dallas. And I'm sorry, I can't think of the kid's name, but there were, like I said, they do an outstanding job of finding young guys. Like I said, whether it's seniors to be, sophomores to be, juniors to be, whatever it's however it plays. They have a good eye for it. And so I'm really looking forward to, just starting to find some more of those new names. And some of them will be OU offers already. And then I guarantee you there'll be probably a dozen guys there that don't have an OU offer that will in the next year or so.
It's not probably like just recruiting, OU recruiting centric, but you did put together, I think you said that you watched 600 guys in the state film here over the last couple of weeks, Josh.
Something like that. Yeah. I kind of stopped keeping track because I couldn't keep doing all the little, guys, I built out, I've always kept it in Word documents. I was like, this is stupid. And so finally I was like, okay, I'm going to change the way I do it. I started putting stuff in spreadsheets. And so I had to build out how I wanted to do that and had to enter it all in. And it was just, very intensive as I did it. And then of course, kind of keeping some notes going on Twitter, wanted to, credit kids that really stood out to me, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think I would bet it was close to 600 or 700 kids. It could, I know it was 600. It could have been 700. It was a lot of Oklahoma high school kids. I know people are like, there's not 700 kids. I am so afraid of missing someone that I watch any kid basically from 6A1 to 2A that has any measurable that's interesting to me, whether it's 6'1", whether he's 310 pounds. A lot of these kids, I turn on a clip and I watch 3 plays and you're like, nope, that kid's not a guy. Or that kid I never heard of is really good. And so you get a lot of that. And so there's clips I watch that I bet I wasted 20 hours on kids that aren't ever going to be Division I players. And I'm sorry to say wasted. I hope their parents aren't listening, but that's just the reality. I'm looking for FBS, FCS type talent, and there's a bunch of it. 25 and 26 in Oklahoma have a chance to be really, really good years.
Was there anybody that maybe you didn't know about that you're now really excited about that, even further down the road that you go, oh, maybe you could be involved heavily?
There's a few. I would say, obviously I got more excited about, we all know I'm a big Grady Adamson guy. I really love him at Deer Creek. But as far as a name that I didn't know, one of the guys that really jumps out at me, and maybe it's because it feels like a familiar story to me, is a kid named Javon Singleton at Ardmore, a linebacker. Kind of like the same story with Eric Fields. I noticed him as a sophomore and was like, man, I don't know, Eric, they're different types of players. I don't want to, tell anybody that they're the same. Javon's bigger. He's about 6'1", 210 right now. Really moves around well, plays some tight end, H-back stuff for Ardmore, but is super athletic, really moves around well, moves like a Power 5 linebacker. I think it was his first year playing the position, so there's a lot he's still learning and processing, but you're like, that's pretty interesting. You don't find big guys that move like him very often. And like I said, kind of like with Fields, you're like, nobody knows about him yet, but give it some time, and you're gonna, you'll get into that. And it's what's always amazing to me, guys, is like a year ago, everybody's talking Ryan Grayson, Ravian Larry, some of those 25 guys that we thought might get offered at camp last summer. And neither one of those guys have an offer in the 25 class. And OU's offered Shield Knight at Wagner and Jaden Nickens at Millwood, who was starting to pick up some steam last spring. But, there are a lot of guys that nobody was talking about that, everybody's excited about at this point in time. So you get a lot of guys like that are super interesting. Muskoge's got several guys that I think are really going to be worth a watch. And from Eddie and I's, old school district, Braden Knox at Putnam City, playing under Carter Whitson, former OU player. He's interesting. Already got an Indiana offer. But he's a guy to keep an eye on. It's 25 in Oklahoma has a chance to be a rare year, and 26 has some really top end guys. I don't know that it's going to have the depth that I'm seeing in 25 right now.
We did not talk about, and I mentioned the NFL draft and the combine, which 7 players had been invited to that. I mean, this has been out for a week. We just hadn't had a chance to really go over it. Eric Gray, Marvin Mims, of course, Anton Harrison, Jalen Redmond did some good things at the Senior Bowl. Wanye Morris, Michael Turk, of course, one of the better punters in the country, and Braden Willis. So, once again, happy for Braden Willis, guy that we've talked a lot about. How much I wanted him to kind of come back and show that he was that type of player. Anybody on there that you're surprised that they were not invited?
Maybe Deshaun White, but that's a maybe. There weren't a lot of seniors on OU's team.
I would say this, though. I mean, knowing what the way that Deshaun White played, certain games he was the best defensive player on the field. And then you look at, a year ago, and why am I forgetting Mr. Ohio's name? That's with the Vikings.
Brian Asamoah.
Brian Asamoah. He's had a decent, specialties. Like, I would think the NFL would want to take a look at Deshaun White if, Brian Asamoah was so highly regarded a year ago.
He'll get his chance at OU Pro Day. I thought maybe he might get a combine.
Yeah,
I love Deshaun, but I said it over and over again. The end of Asamoah's 2021 season.
Oh, it was great.
That was good a linebacker play as OU's gotten in a while. He really.
Is it the Baylor game in Waco that
Baylor had the forced fumble?
He
was
recovered everywhere that day.
That was his best game, but I'm just saying, I thought Deshaun White had a game or two like that this year. I can't remember exactly what his best games were.
Yeah.
But, he had some games where he was all over the field.
Don't get me wrong. Like, he deserves a cup of coffee for sure. He deserves a shot.
He'll get his Jordan Evans chance to try to show that they were wrong. So, but another thing, just one defensive guy. Again, all these are now like Grinch's guys, and they're just they didn't have the production from the recruits that they were bringing in that they really thought they were going to be able to get.
Guys,
go ahead, Josh.
I just I'm looking at the list here, and I'm gonna say something, and it's hard for me to say it, but it's one of those things where people are always like, Josh, you fall in love with projections too much. Like, what guy's gonna be, what he could be. They, you need to look at the hard data. I'm like, that's what I do. This is what it is. It's not about like who's the best guy at this level. They're trying to project what he's gonna be. Looking at this list, Wanye Morris is gonna be the 3rd Oklahoma player drafted, behind Anton and Marvin Mims. He's going to go ahead of Eric Gray.
Yep.
He's going to go ahead of Braden Willis. And that is crazy to think when Wanye Morris was never better than a solid player at Oklahoma. And I mean that over courses of series. Like, Wanye Morris was unreliable from game to game.
And it showed with his I'm entering the NFL announcement, because he basically didn't. People were so pissed he didn't even think Biedenbaugh for, when he left.
I don't know. It's the.
Good luck getting. By the way, good luck getting a good evaluation from him with pro scouts.
Yeah,
that wasn't smart.
Because I will say, at the Senior Bowl, he lost some of that bad weight I thought he carried around for a lot of the time at OU. Like, he looked like he'd been serious about his workouts. And, I mean, with his wingspan and stuff, you're like, there's no reason he shouldn't be a 10-year NFL guy. There's really none. It's just about if he can piece it all together. And I know I've heard people say, oh, just him getting away from college will be good for him. And I'm like, at college, you have people willing to babysit you and be around you and make sure you're going to class and doing the things and getting up in the morning to get to practice or workouts or whatever. In the NFL, man, sink or swim. Like there's nobody that's going to hold your hand to do any of it. And I'm not saying that guys don't carry plenty of their own responsibility in college. They do, but it's a different level. There's a different set expectation. Now, maybe it's just he doesn't have to go to class anymore. Like I don't know what it is, but it's again, this is what I talk about. Like, he has projectable stuff that I mean, guys, I'm not even sure Anton Harrison has his physical tools as good as Anton is. It's just Wanya is a freak athlete, from an offensive line perspective.
I say that I would almost make a bet with you. I'm not going to, but you could make almost some of the exact same arguments for why Jalen Redmond would be the third player taken from Oklahoma. But here's the thing that right. I don't think that we can I mean, there's going to be talent people that are like, look, he's going to be drafted. But I think there's a medical side to Jalen with his, his blood clot issues, his injury history. Like, are there going to be some team physicians that are just like, you don't want to take a chance on this guy, especially early? But and I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know what organizations are going to put the red flag on him versus which ones are going to say we don't care about that. We're just looking at the talent.
That's a really good point, because I would say we would all agree that Redmond has had more consistent good play than Morris ever did. Mm-hmm. But you're
just
right.
Never consistent.
Yeah,
and it's because of injury or
consistently inconsistent.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, because there were times when you'd watch Jalen Redmond and you're like, holy crap. Like, that's a NFL guy, could lead your defensive line. I mean, because, guys, we all talked about this time last year when some of the stuff that you were hearing about Redmond, you were like, this is a challenge. They know they need him to be a guy if this defensive line's going to be meaningful, and he never really rose to it, and that defensive line was never really meaningful last year. I mean, aside from those first 3 games when they were just beating up on inferior opponents.
And even, didn't he miss some games last year? Did he miss 4 games or something? Because banged up Jalen Redmond?
West Virginia, I think he only played a series or 2. But yeah, they were just going down the stretch. He wasn't seeing as much action because he was just trying to gut his way through it.
Yeah, I mean, that's really going to be a really interesting. He better test well, and if he does, he might have a chance, and somebody will take a chance.
Yeah, his bios has played in 12 games and made 8 starts, so he opted out of the Cheez-It Bowl, which I still love that every single player that didn't play in the Cheez-It Bowl, that is their first notation on Soonersports.com, is opted out of the Cheez-It Bowl. Every single one of them, Eric Gray, any of them. You're like, doesn't matter that the guy poured his guts out for us, didn't play the bowl game.
Josh, you think Jalen would say, you know what, I'm not a tackle, I'm a defensive end?
He would try. I mean, the thing is, I mean, and there's, again, I think we've talked about this on the pod before. Like, I wonder if Brent had been there when Jalen arrived, if he doesn't stay at defensive end, guys, because we always thought the defensive tackle thing was a reach.
Yep.
Like, because he was having to carry so much weight on his body, and there's a big part of me that thinks that had some issue. I mean, obviously not sickle cell or like that sort of stuff, but like the other problems, the health problems, the nagging injuries,
yep.
Because guys, I mean, you remember him in high school. Jalen was a big kid already. Like, he was carrying. He was 235, 240 in high school. He was a big, sturdy kid. He wasn't like this, like when you guys see PJ, and I know Bob and Eddie, you've seen PJ, but Carey, when you see him tomorrow, unless he's done something amazing in the month since I saw him last, you're going to be like, that kid's wiry. He's got a lot of room to grow. That wasn't what you thought about Jalen Redmond. You're like, he'll get bigger and stronger, but it wasn't like, oh, he's got to put on 30 pounds before he's ready. he looked like an edge rusher. He looked like a stand-up outside linebacker. He looked ideal for that role,
He was Oboe.
Like we've seen.
He was the next version of Oboe.
And then, no, we're going to put 60 pounds. What? What's happening? Like, it never made sense. And then you throw in that, okay, at defensive tackle, he's 280 pounds playing in that scheme, going against 310, 320-pound guards. Like, I say it all the time, the physics don't make sense. Like, that didn't work. And, we're seeing that continue. I mean, I just don't understand Grinch's need to make these guys defensive tackles when they're just not meant to hold up like that. And I got to think he did Jalen Redmond a disservice.
I think the non-water we've had a victim of not having water. I'd never seen this before, but Eddie has left because he really has to go pee. And they announced, you guys heard it on the pod, they announced that they're turning the water off. So is it like a psychological thing? It was like, now that he knows he doesn't have water, is he losing his?
That happens to me in a big way. Like,
really?
I'm one of those people.
If you don't have a place to go and you don't have a place, you have to go.
It's a mental week. Because, I mean, I don't know about for you guys, so if Tiffany and I travel together, Tiffany is someone who literally, if we hit a gas station, she needs to go to the bathroom. She's constantly drinking something and has the bladder the size of a peanut. Like, it's just like we constantly have to stop and go to the bathroom. I could go from Houston to Oklahoma City and never use the bathroom. Like, absolutely no problem.
No way.
But, like, at home, if I'm sitting here and I'm like, I got to go. And I think it's a product of I work from home and I can always go to the bathroom. She can go to work and be stuck in a surgery where she can't leave for 6 or 7 hours, and she's fine. And it's just such a mental game. And I think because I constantly am home, and so I can go to the bathroom whenever the hell I feel like it, I think I get weak when I'm here, and I know, like, if I go somewhere else, it can be bad. Like if I'm at a concert or something, I gotta go right now.
Yeah, it depends. Like, I think it's directly affected to how good the facilities are that are near you. Like, if I'm at my radio station, I don't want any part of that bathroom, so I stay. I hold it until I can get home. But here, like, I feel comfortable with our bathroom here, so I probably go as much as I do at home. But I think that's part. If you're comfortable with the bathroom where you are, you'll go whenever you want. Yep. I don't know if Eddie has gone back to his house or not, but he just really had to go. I don't know where he went. I don't know where you would go.
A restaurant?
Do you think he's peeing in that dude's parking spot?
In Toby's parking spot? He's peeing on his hood right now.
That's amazing.
His car will just be covered in dust and pee after it's over, because that dust is... Yeah. I swear I could taste dirt this morning when I walked in here. Dust is just falling from the air still because of all the wind yesterday.
I miss Oklahoma and I hate Houston, but that is the wind and the dirt is one of those things I will fully concede I don't miss that much.
It's the one thing that really sucks about being a homeowner in Oklahoma. Like, we don't have, we have earthquakes, not real earthquakes, just fracking earthquakes. But like, if you live out in California, you got to worry about earthquakes. If you live near the ocean, you got to worry about hurricanes. Oklahoma, we have so much crap, like it just destroys your house. No matter how long you've had your house, you're always getting a new roof. You're always getting new fencing. It's the one thing they never tell you about buying a house in Oklahoma. The upkeep sucks.
Yes, it does.
I feel, Bob, like you've replaced a roof and a fence like in the last few years, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I
thought so.
Because of wind. Yep, I have. There was one time it took the fence out, and I took the dogs out. Next day, hey, there's no longer a fence here.
I've had a car totaled by hail.
Yep, same here.
I've had 2 new roofs because of hail. And like that's the other thing, like home insurance, like that's a scam. I'm sorry. Like you got to pay like 10% of what your house's value is or whatever, like for the deductible. That sucks, dude. Like, even when you get a new roof, you're still paying like $4,000.
Yep.
He found it. Did you pee on Toby's car? That's what we were trying to figure out.
That's the closest I've come to peeing my pants in like maybe 10 years.
Do you think it's a psychological thing? Just the water is turned off and you don't have access to the toilet? Like your mind is just like... Oh,
well, I think I needed to go before we started.
Uh-huh.
I had like 7 cups of coffee this morning because of the quick turnaround from basketball, and whew, that was close.
Where did you go?
Fuzzies.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
I figured if they said something, I'd just be like, no, I own this place. Get me out of here. Let me out. I'll buy a taco.
You should have like your picture up in Fuzzy somewhere. Like this is a made man. This is a made Fuzzy's man.
Well, I think that my number one goal is to get up on Ray's someday.
Yeah.
Get a picture up there, and then
why don't people do that anymore? Like that used to be a staple of like laundromats and stuff. Like, hang up pictures of notable people who dine at their places. We need to bring that back.
There are some places I think in like New York and stuff that still do that.
We should do that here.
Maybe we should. Like people that come by, they can like sign the wall or something.
Yeah.
We could probably do that.
I mean, I thought about doing that with our reception areas. Like every time we have a guest, have them sign the wall.
I kind of like that idea.
Okay.
Maybe in white.
Well, we would paint the wall like maybe like chalkboard black and then have them sign it white.
Yeah.
So you could see it.
Do that.
Get Bob Stoops to sign it first, maybe.
That'd be cool.
Let's say
Toby Keith.
What's gonna be
most
that
famous
cut
person
line?
in Oklahoma.
What's gonna be the cut line here?
We'll get Toby. Eddie first, and let Toby sign right next to Eddie.
And who's the big one? Like, who's the one that like we have to keep like a certain spot right in the middle for that person to sign the wall?
I think Bob is our king.
Yeah.
Okay.
He'd be pretty high up on the list.
You get Stoops.
I mean, as far as the history of Sooner Scoop, like he really kept us down for so long by keeping his job.
Yeah.
Like the first coaching search we ever had was Brent Venables, real coaching search.
Lincoln
and
Riley.
The history since
think Lincoln will ever come back and sign it?
I would let him sign it if he came back. He will never set foot on Campus Corner though.
He might.
You think he would for like Tyler's thing?
No, probably not. But
That's
not
a great
not
question.
this soon. Not this soon. That was a question that you had in somebody asked in chat. I assume they're doing all the Kyler stuff
I think that they are
for the spring game. It just hasn't been announced yet.
Just the logistics to be worked out.
Yeah. Okay.
No, but I would say Baker might be number 2, just in the history of Scoop and kind of what they meant to just the overall building of this empire.
Creed can come sign it whenever he wants.
Yeah.
He's a Super Bowl champion.
I think the Belldozer would be a great signature.
Belldozer would be awesome.
Yep.
Orlando, James Winchester, any of the guys that are.
But I mean, just even Blake more so just for what he did at OU.
Yeah, the Belldozer.
The Belldozer. Awesome. I mean, that's a great chapter in the history of Sooner Scoop coverage.
Probably very doable. I bet we could get Blake to drop by here.
Can we get a picture of Orlando? Like we may need to paint like a mural of Orlando holding Baker's jersey as he had died.
That would be a great
through the game.
Full wall mural for us to put up in here.
Pretty good.
And then have him and Baker both sign that wall. That'd be amazing.
We need to see if like Ty Russell has a good picture of that.
I'm sure that he does.
We could buy it from him.
I'm sure that he does. I mean, I was standing right there. We could always get the picture that like a still frame of the video.
That wouldn't look good blowing it up on a wall though.
No, probably not, but I'm sure that Ty has a picture of it.
I remember the video. It was just so ridiculous.
It's an all-time moment.
I mean, it looks like he died. And he missed one series.
One series. Because Kyler broke off a 75-yard run or 80-yard run, got stopped from behind.
I think it was a 66-yard run.
And then, or got caught from behind, and then he was right back in the game.
Right.
It was beautiful.
So, yeah, we'll have to kind of that'd be a good little list that we can start coming up with, like greatest moments and people to Sooner Scoop history. But Bob Stoops is number 1. I think it has to be.
Approved. He starts his What is
Saturday?
Yeah.
Second
Saturday.
year?
You
Would
got
this
it.
be technically second year with the
Well, they had 5
Arlington
games.
Renegades?
They had 5 games the first time, before COVID knocked it out. So
Is that it? It was he only coached 5 games and then it was over because of COVID?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. I just, for some reason, thought it might be more than that.
I don't know any of his quarterbacks. Landry was his quarterback the first time.
I don't know.
I didn't recognize any of those
either.
names.
I think the only true connection. There's 2 connections: Jordan Smallwood,
Right.
and Keith Ford.
Yeah, that's it.
His running back. Not gonna
Jordan
say that I'm gonna
Smallwood
watch
was
it.
really good when he was playing in the USFL or XFL, whatever he played in last. He was pretty good. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it, and I just like the fact that he seems to really enjoy that. Mm-hmm. Like it's no pressure. You don't have to worry about recruiting. Like he would probably hate NIL, I would guess.
Yeah.
I mean, he was not big on social media.
100%.
It's just coaching football.
It's perfect for him.
And plus, he can tell his players to drink beer after the games.
Are they still doing that? Are they going to still be able to?
It was a seltzer celebration.
it was
Bud Light seltzer.
Yeah, it was seltzer celebrations, wasn't it? Just fun.
So looking forward to it. We'll have to get down there for one. So,
Oh God,
that went through bad.
kind of sounded COVID-y.
I'm okay. A lot of weird stuff happened in the pod today, sound wise. No, I was gonna say
Well, as long
last
as
thing
we're recording, we're
before
fine.
we get out of here. Softball has started, Bob. I don't know, Josh. Have your girls gotten into softball? OU softball? I think we've had this discussion before.
That Lainey started watching it last year. She's kind of interested. I think she is the one that likes, she's more into OU. There is a window of the world in which Layla becomes a Texas fan just to troll her mother, which will be very funny. And I kind of, there's a part of me that's almost rooting for it, just so I can watch that play out. But I will say Layla, her teacher in her daycare, and Layla's in pre-K, and she has a teacher that's a big Texas fan. And I kind of thought oh God, this is going to be a whole thing. And for a while, I'd be like, what'd you think about the game last week, Dad? I'm like, man, I'm a reporter. I don't care. I had to go through it with him 10 times. I wasn't wearing an OU shirt and cried. It's not like that. And so finally he kind of got it. But he'll focus on Layla now, but he does it in a really funny way. Literally every time I see this man, he yells boomer at Layla and she yells Sooner about half the time. Because the other half, she says boomer back because she can't quite put it together yet. She's like, do I say boomer or do I say Sooner? And so we have to go through that conversation pretty regularly each day. But, Lainey is more into the softball, and definitely Lainey doesn't like to lose, so they are right up her alley. They are perfect for Lainey's fandom.
Well, it wasn't constant run rule last weekend, including one extra inning, right? They won 8 innings.
They won 8. One nothing. Liberty. Yep. Nicole May. Special weekend.
So I'm trying to think. Coming up, they've got they're playing in California now.
No, they're at the Getterman Classic in Waco.
Oh, okay.
Which on paper there's not one ranked team, so you're looking maybe for some run rules. This might be the weekend, but just going back to last weekend, the way Nicole May, she pitched that 1-0 8-inning game, and then saving Jordy Ball. That I don't know if they were gonna beat Washington if Jordy kept throwing the way that she was. It was 5-4 when Nicole came in, 4th inning, closed the deal, rested away. So they got 3 wins against top 20 teams. Did it in a lot of different ways. Very intrigued, and that was.
So is there a Jordy issue right now?
Walks, a lot of walks right now. So that's something no doubt they'll have to hammer down and try to get better with. But and that's maybe a good thing. Maybe you didn't want to go to first weekend and be dominant and feel like, well, what the heck do we have to improve on? There's a lot of stuff they got to get better at, and I'm sure that's been the point of emphasis throughout the course of this week.
Well, Bob is on the softball beat this year, so you can read his coverage at Soonerscoop.com. He's still allowing him to cover Porter, but Porter, you got to do better, or we might just take him off the beat entirely. So, go check that out, and we appreciate everybody for tuning in once again. Don't forget, tomorrow we'll have the big media day for pre-spring. A lot of stuff going to be coming out of that. I mean, there's going to be 17 players going at once, so it's going to be insane.
We're going to be uploading video until next Tuesday. Like literally.
So, but really looking forward to talking to those guys and see what they have to say. Now that they've been on campus, they've been going through winter workouts. They get a little bit of it. And baseball is starting this weekend as well.
Yeah, opening weekend. Cale Davis is going to be the Friday starter, Friday afternoon. So I think it's Friday afternoon, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, and they actually play Monday as well before heading down to Frisco to play on Wednesday. So 4 games, 3 days.
And that's
Cal
the Classic
Baptist.
Down in Frisco?
No, I think it's just a standalone game. They go back down to Frisco
for that 4-team deal.
I think it's March 5th weekend, something around there, for that 4-team deal with I think Michigan, Ohio State, and somebody else. So Cal Baptist for 3 games, Air Force on Monday. But yeah, it's going to be kind of interesting. We had media day last week before the Kansas basketball game, and they're talking about moving Wallace Clark to maybe moving him behind the plate. John Spikerman's hitting from both sides of the plate. Bryce Madron, the JUCO Triple Crown winner's going to start in right field. It's an interesting mixture of guys that I think everybody knows, whether it be Kendall Pettis or Jackson Nicholas. The sophomore class that got so much experience a year ago really kind of steps into a leadership role on this team. That's going to be kind of interesting, as well as
Pettis. Pettis is a guy that, from a pitching standpoint, last year, he was a late arrival, kind of, wasn't he? There's so much for him.
He hurt his elbow at the beginning of the year, and then he never really kind of got it going. And I think that for him, and Skip talked about this a little bit at media day, just as far as I think once he understood just getting on base is more important than hitting bombs. Mm-hmm. And the bombs will come if you just let everything come to you.
And they came in the NCAA.
They started coming. Yeah. He started hitting the ball really, really well. And when the offense started clicking is when they started getting stuff out of 7, 8, and 9. And then it rolled over to the top of the lineup that was so powerful for him. So they're going to be really good. It's just going to be a matter of, how quickly they can get this pitching thing figured out. And it's going to be, kind of based on committee to see which way they want to go on a bunch of guys.
All right, well, that's going to do it. We'll be back again next week for another edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast right here on Soonerscoop.com.